I think that if you are choosing whole foods, had a face at some point, grown from the earth at some point, those are your two categories, right? Just think about all the foods you're eating, what had a face at some point, what grew from the earth at some point, right? If those are the majority of your foods, like 90 plus percent, 95 plus percent even, 100% maybe, then I feel like it is 100 times easier to quote unquote eat intuitively versus if your foods are packaged foods, processed foods, all that jazz, which is a lot of the standard American diet, if you want to call it. And so I think that's where people tend to get in a lot of trouble. But then also realizing too that like it's not just about like, at least in my opinion, it's not just about the food itself. It's also about the psychology behind how you react to certain foods and how also like your personality too. So like I think that's something that people have to realize, like where they're at on that spectrum of, how much, first of all, control they have over, even if it's the amount of, even if it's they're eating 100% whole foods, like, can you actually, eat, I don't know, sweet potatoes and, like stop at a certain point, or like when you add things to the sweet potatoes that make it more, palatable. So if you're eating just a plain boiled sweet potato, right? Versus eating a baked sweet potato that you put butter and maybe some cinnamon and whatever else, nut butter and all that stuff on it to make it even more palatable. So your brain is literally like, wow, this is so good. I just want to eat more and more and more of it, obviously to a certain point. Versus if you're just eating a plain sweet potato with nothing on it, maybe a little bit of salt, that's going to be a different reaction in your brain too, right? In the way that you react to how satisfying that is or how delicious that is. So like for me, if I'm just eating a plain sweet potato, like I'll probably stop at a certain point and be like, all right, I've had enough of this. It's also it's a one macronutrient, majority of a sweet potato is carbohydrates, right? And some fiber. Versus when you take that sweet potato and you add a lot of fat to it, fats and carbs together, which increase that, that reward center, palatability and reward center in your brain tells you, hey, let me eat more of this because this is really good. So that is, I think, at least in my eyes, like a little bit of an issue when it comes to intuitive eating, because I would much rather track, okay, this is how much sweet potato I'm going to eat with this much nut butter and this much, or butter and cinnamon, and really enjoy that, but know like, okay, I can only have this amount or else I'm going to go way overboard, right? Versus having a plain sweet potato where I'm like, all right, like this is pretty good, but like it's not that great. You know what I mean? Yeah, because I know I'll stop at some point because it will be less attractive to my brain and my palate, if that makes sense. So for me personally, because I feel like I have so much education and awareness around the like how much food I'm eating, and my like I've gone through a long period of time of tracking and being aware of like, okay, this is how much 4 ounces of chicken looks like, this is how much 100 grams of sweet potato looks like, because I've weighed and measured it for years. I actually wouldn't be that concerned. I'd be like, all right, like I've been doing this for a while, like I have that muscle memory to know, like if I can't track, if I don't have this app, I don't have these numbers, I kind of know in my head already, all right, this is how much this looks like. And so I could, because I have the knowledge and the awareness and the education, because I've been doing it for so long, I feel like I would be okay, versus someone who doesn't really know portion sizes, doesn't really know like how much protein is in this food, or in this amount of food, or how much carbs or fats or whatever it is. I think that is where tracking, and that's why I personally think that tracking is such a great tool for anybody, even if they only do it for a certain period of time and then they like stop doing it and then they go to maybe intuitive eating.